Hey guys, Sean here, and welcome to the F1 Word again. Yes, I'm live again, twice in one day. Can you believe it? Within an hour of the last one finishing, I'll be joined by Jonty in just a moment. But I need to start this stream by saying this is a race debrief. If you have not seen the Grand Prix, there will obviously be spoilers during this stream. So if you don't want to know what happened, it's best that you go off and come back and watch the stream replay a little bit later on. Is everyone all right in chat? Did you all get up and watch the Grand Prix in Europe or wherever you are across the world? Or are you going to watch it a little bit later on because you're sane and didn't want to get up at stupid o'clock in the morning? Everyone looking. It was actually not too bad a race. I'm going to jump straight into it then and say good morning to Jonty.
Good morning, everyone.
How are you? Are you all right, mate? Knackered, I'd imagine.
Oh, exhausted. But it's worth it.
Yeah, definitely. Great to have F1 back. First thoughts on the race then, mate. What did you think?
Someone got lucky, didn't they? Just a bit.
Yeah, just a teeny weeny little bit. Up until that point, it wasn't an absolute thriller, was it? Until we sort of got the issues with the Haas, which we'll come on to in a bit and whatnot. But as we've said before, Jonty, I think it's when the first race rolls around, you're always going to think it was a decent race because it's been so long without one.
Yeah. But it wasn't quite as good as we hoped.
No, definitely not. I think you just got a bit robotic there. I don't know if that was that me or was that Jonty that went a bit robo?
No, I think that was me.
Okay, that's
Sorry about that.
That's all right, mate. Yeah, we'll hop into this one because you said it there. He got very lucky, Sebastian Vettel, in many ways. He took the win from Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton looked, to be fair, not as miffed as I thought he was going to look. I don't know if that's obviously all for show. He's not going to be very happy. Mercedes blaming a software glitch for losing the race today and them not knowing actually where Vettel was on track, if you like, and that they were going to lose out to him in a pit lane under the virtual safety car. That, we don't know. It could be true, but that to me sounds a little bit like a bit of an excuse.
Yeah, I don't see any credence to that.
No, just covering their backs there for me, I think.
Once the VSC's out, he's locked in place. There's nothing they can do about it, regardless of whether their numbers are right.
Yeah. Did they cover off the wrong Ferrari, do you think?
Definitely.
It's quite strange. I mean, Sebastian Vettel was kind of unspectacular up to that point. Me and Chaz were saying during our little watch-along that, he was pretty much nailed on for third and wasn't going to do any better. And he's gone and won the race. I still can't get my head around it. Obviously, the virtual safety car gave him the look he needed, and, there you go. But I just think, why cover off Raikkonen? I mean, when Raikkonen was going out, he was quick after his pit stop, but he wasn't quick to the point where Hamilton couldn't have gone another lap, or maybe even two.
Yeah, I mean, Lewis was maintaining the gap quite comfortably. It never got down to less than 2 seconds. So there was no real need to take any risks.
No, I got the impression, again, I said it live, that it felt like he was controlling the race pretty much from the off and wasn't really pushing too hard at all.
No, and didn't need to. It was all pretty much in hand. We could tell that quite easily. And then all of a sudden, they call the strategy wrong and get caught out by the blind luck.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you feel, Jonty, but I still think if you're looking at Ferrari, we'll just do this quickly, but I still think Raikkonen had the better weekend than Vettel, despite the fact Vettel's won the race.
Yeah, he definitely did. He was far superior in quali, and he did look faster through the race. He definitely had a better race pace. So hopefully this is a sign of Kimi for the year.
I was going to say, do you think he's back this year? Maybe one last swan song and then middle finger as he walks out the door to everyone at the end of the season?
Oh, yeah, I hope so. It would be brilliant. He's certainly got the attitude to do it.
Yeah, it'd be very Kimi, wouldn't it? I'll just go over the rest of the race result quickly before we talk about the really only one main talking point, if you like, but Daniel Ricciardo, P4, good recovery from him. Fernando Alonso, a lot of people's driver of the day, P5, really good drive from him. Verstappen will be disappointed with 6th. We'll talk about him in a bit. Hulkenberg 7th. Bottas, I think a bit unspectacular with 8th. Van Dorn, all right in 9th. Sainz 10th. The Force Indias, apart from Perez, nearly nicking a point, really nowhere this weekend. Leclerc, I think a solid weekend for him overall. Lance Stroll, P14, and Brendan Hartley bought with the rear. And then it was Grosjean, Magnussen, Gasly, Ericsson, and Sorokin all out of the race. Start off with Ricciardo. Given the penalty he got after practice, 4th isn't bad. And to be within 7/10 of a podium position, it looks positive for Red Bull, doesn't it, this season?
Yeah, it really does. And if we didn't have the difficulty in following and catching with the aero, he could quite comfortably have been on the podium.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem for him, even in DRS, he just couldn't get near that Ferrari, could he, in a straight line? So we already know what Christian Horner's excuses are going to be, the Renault power unit and whatnot. So, but sticking with Red Bull, Verstappen, problems. He says something broke on the car just before he spun, and that kind of was the story of his race after that. He was in the race, probably in the race for a podium, to be fair, and then just kind of fell away from him. So obviously something wrong with the car, but yeah, a bit disappointed he couldn't take the fight to the top 3.
Yeah, again, seeing you just couldn't get the move done on Magnussen, no matter how close he was.
Again, it seems that that Ferrari power unit again, doesn't it? It's, yeah, disappointing. Yeah, I don't know. It's all down to power, isn't it, at the minute? We are in a power formula. They've tried to sort the aero out, but, you know, that Mercedes looked pretty formidable before the virtual safety car. The Ferrari looks very strong in a straight line as well, and the Renault power cars can't get anywhere near them. But one man in a Renault power car, I'd imagine John T is pretty happy tonight. He seems to be equaling his best finish since rejoining McLaren. Fernando Alonso P5. I did not see that coming after qualifying.
No, definitely not. And he's also another one who got very lucky, it seems.
Yeah, I think anybody behind the Haas, maybe apart from the Red Bulls, quite a big element of luck in their finishing positions today. I suppose really we ought to talk about Haas. It was kind of the main talking point of the day. It really did decide the race in the end. But massive inquiry has to be going on right now at Haas. Gutted, absolutely gutted from John T.
Yeah, I mean, that was a disaster to have the same problem on both cars. Someone is going to be getting a serious reprimand.
Yeah. A couple of people in chat, actually, or one person specifically saying we're a bit salty about Vettel's win, and apparently Vettel is always lucky when he wins. I don't know if you watch the channel regularly, because that's nonsense. That's not what we're saying at all. He won today, and it was lucky. He was nowhere near the pace of Lewis Hamilton today at all. That's not fanboyish towards Hamilton. That's not salty towards Vettel. Get your data out. Have a look at your lap times. It tells you quite easily there. So Vettel isn't always lucky when he wins, but today he was. But then let's go through it. You know, I'm not going to sit here and go through every single race that Hamilton was lucky to win, Brazil 2008, to take the title, or that Raikkonen was lucky to win, or Ricciardo. It's Formula One, John T. Luck has to come into it, doesn't it? In every single win, in every single championship. Yes,
it always has to. Just look at Singapore last year. You can't say Lewis wasn't lucky to win that.
Exactly, yeah. That race was terrible. That weekend was terrible for them. They said it. They were damage limitation. He goes off and wins the race because everyone crashes into each other. But yeah, anyway, moan over. You know what I'm like, John T, when we get the whole salty fanboy BS around Formula One. It does annoy me because, you know, we're just pretty straight with opinions and some people don't like that. But yeah, the Haas boys, sorry, I'm tired, so I don't care. The Haas boys... Grosjean looked absolutely distraught, didn't he, by his car? So frustrated, but I think it gets worse for them because, as far as I'm aware, that is a slam dunk 10-place grid drop for both cars at the next race. Unsafe release.
Yeah, I think that's right, because they couldn't serve a penalty during this race, so it will carry over.
Yeah. So it's kind of double whammy for them, really. But a few people calling conspiracy because they're Ferrari-powered cars. That's rubbish, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw a tweet about that within minutes of the second one happening. Ridiculous.
RC saying, Sean, your mic, it increases your voice at times and then puts it back to normal. It's when I get angry, mate. I get shouty. You might know when I get a bit ranty, but yeah. I don't know. I just disappointed for Haas. It looks like it must have been a mechanical issue. It can't have been human error as such. It must have been a wheel gun issue somewhere, because to have the same problem on both cars is very rare, isn't it? You know, it's a bit more of a coincidence. It must have been a wheel gun fault or a problem with the traffic light system.
To me, it's still a human error. Whether there's a fault with the wheel gun or whether there's a fault with the wheel gun or not, it's still down to someone letting the car go with the traffic light system.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, very fair point. I mean, the mechanic himself looked devastated, didn't he, after that? And can't be as devastated as the drivers were.
When you saw the mechanic storm out, I thought he was going to rip the door off the hinges.
A bit like Massa's mechanics in Brazil in 2008 when he headbutted the wall. Massive frustration. It was the moment that decided the race. It kind of turned it, didn't it? Obviously, that brought the VSC out. It was timed perfectly for Vettel to make his pit stop. Hamilton had already covered Raikkonen off, which, as we've just said, we think was a little bit unnecessary. Can you understand Hamilton's frustration, or do you think it does have to just go down to sometimes the luck's with you and sometimes it's against you?
It really is as simple as that. I'm sure he'll be the first to accept the luck for Singapore last year. He's got to be the first to accept the luck for someone else today. Yeah.
I mean, we have to remember as well, it's the first race of the season. You know, Vettel does top the championship 25 points, Hamilton 18, Raikkonen 15. It's the first race of the season. You know, people want championship standings early season. It's like the Premier League table in football. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. There's so many races left. You know, you just can't read anything into this weekend for me, except for the fact that Merc looks quick. The Ferrari isn't as far off as we thought, and Red Bull do look competitive. So I think, for me, John T, looking at the weekend as a whole, I'm a lot more positive than I was after pre-season testing. I think we do look a lot closer.
Yeah, certainly the top three and the midfield. Although it does look like the McLarens and the Renaults are quite a bit closer to the Red Bulls than we thought.
Yeah,
when it comes to race pace.
What about Renault this weekend then? Because they came into the season, we all kind of thought fourth place was theirs, nailed on. Although 7th and 10th, good points early season, not quite as comfortable as we thought they would be in fourth, are they?
No, although they did lose out quite a bit because of the safety car things today. Yeah, which is what helped Alonso along quite a lot. So you can say that they should be a couple of places higher, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because it is the first race of the season. They might turn up to Bahrain and be the third quickest car, all we know. Do you think a lot of engine saving and things going on as well today? Early season, Chaz sort of picked up on it in the race that maybe that's why Mercedes turned everything down. No need to push and blow your engines up too early. Maybe.
It is possible. It's just the first race after all. There still will be some elements of shakedown. They haven't really pushed them to that limit for that length of time, no matter how much testing they do.
Yeah, it's still almost pre-season, isn't it? It felt like that in practice when people were sort of bolting around and whatnot. Valtteri Bottas proving today that once again that Mercedes in traffic is not brilliant. Started 15th, ended up 8th. I mean, on paper it's a good recovery, but for probably the fastest car on the grid on a circuit, I guess you can't ever take on turbulent air. Probably the best he could have done in many ways, but you'd expect more. I think, without sounding like a Hamilton fanboy, had Lewis been in that Mercedes, you'd probably have backed him for top 5.
Yeah, very much so. I wasn't impressed with Bottas today. He certainly should have got higher up, especially with the third DRS zone being added, and quite clearly the most powerful car.
yeah, it's disappointing from him. I do wonder though. Obviously, I'm not a racing driver, obviously, so I don't really know, but I do wonder how much a big accident like he has in qualifying does knock you back for the weekend, not just in terms of penalties, but, you know, do you brake a little bit earlier and accelerate a little bit later when you've done that and not take as much curb on the exit, not quite as aggressive, because it must psychologically have some impact, and maybe that's something to do with it. But like you say, fastest car on the track, he should be coming through the field quicker than that. It took him a while